I'm Liz Heineke, the Kitchen Pantry Scientist, and I have a fun project to show you today that demonstrates a little bit about how paper is made, the science of making paper. So for this project, you will need some paper that doesn't have a lot of ink on it. I used old recycled printer paper, and I used some old watercolor paper that I found in my basement. So you will need to shred the paper or cut it up. I used a paper shredder because it's faster, but either is fine. Now, when paper is made, factory workers take plants and they extract fibers called cellulose from these plants. And these plants can be wood, from trees, it can be cotton. And they take these fibers, they mix them with water, they press them, they flatten them, and they roll them out into sheets of paper. And we are going to do a similar process, only we're going to start with paper. We're essentially recycling paper. So we will take these scraps of paper, put them in a bowl, soak them overnight with water. So sort of cover them with water, so they really soak up a lot of water. All right. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is use an old blender. I have one that I use for craft projects and science projects. Use an old blender. Take this wet paper, put it in the blender, put water over it, enough so that it will blend, and then blend it up until you get a nice smooth pulp. And this will involve lots of like stirring, pushing it down with the spoon between blends, but it's really pretty easy. And you end up with this nice juicy, you can see all the water in here, this nice juicy pulp. So if you want to make wildflower discs like this that contain wildflower seeds and can be planted in pots throughout the year, or if you want to make herb garden discs like this that contain herb seeds and can be planted to make little herb gardens throughout the year, you will take these, find an old screen, mix your paper pulp with the seeds you want, and press the pulp and seeds into a jar lid like this. What I did was I found some herb leaves and petals to indicate to me which was the flower garden and which was the herb garden, but it also makes a pretty decoration. So you'll press these, press out the excess water. This is a great project for kids to do in driveways. Press out the excess water, put them in a dry, sunny place, and let them dry. And you will end up with these pretty little discs. You can put holes in them before they dry if you want to you can make them look like ornaments, but you can use them throughout the year to plant little gardens and pots, which I love. You know, you can plant herb gardens in the winter using these fun projects that you made in the summer. Okay, if you prefer to make paper, you can do this on either a screen or a cookie sheet, but what you'll do, you can see that I made this paper yesterday. This you can actually do on a screen or a cookie sheet. I started these on a screen, but then I dried them in the oven at 170 on a cookie sheet. You have to do it at a really low heat to help preserve the color of the flowers. I wouldn't recommend doing this if you put seeds in the paper because it might kill the seeds. So what you do to make pretty wildflower paper like this, or leaf paper, you could, add food coloring, you can do whatever you want. But what I did was I took my screen, I took some marigolds, geraniums, it's a great time of year. Right now it's July, it's a great time of year to find petals, but I just took a bunch of petals, I put them on my screen, I spread them out. You could make designs if you want to. Or you can take whole blossoms. You can see whole blossoms dry nicely too. Put them on the screen, take your paper pulp, sort of drop it on, spread it out. If you want to mix it into the paper, you can. I wanted mine sort of more in one layer. The leaves look really pretty in there too. Mash it down. You can, like I said, you can do this on a cookie sheet or a screen. Mash it down to the thinness you want. Squeeze out excess water if you're using a screen. Let it dry outdoors in the sun, or like I said, you can dry it on a baking sheet at 170 in the oven. It will take several hours. Just keep checking it every half an hour until it's dry, or you can do it mostly dry and then let it finish drying in the sun. But this is a fun project that teaches you a little bit about how paper is made and lets you make your own beautiful recycled paper. It's one of the projects featured in my book, STEAM Lab for Kids. I would definitely recommend you try it. Have fun.